in my case, after going through this emotional roller coaster, denial, anger, why me, my kids, what's going to happen to them, my wife, my career. I mean, everything in a way stops. Now you have another thing to worry about, which you weren't planning.
Mhm.
And as an athlete, I was, in good shape, but I was doing too many things, with my career, trying to take the kids to coaching, then we go camping. I was trying to do it all and still playing tennis tournaments. So believe it or not, when you go that way, producing a lot of stress in your body, and this stress produces cortisol. And there's another thing that people need to know. You and your audience, I like to share this. Also, all chronic disease, including cancer, start in an inflamed body. In other words, the pH balance is very acidic. And that's because of the stress. That's because we eat too fast because we have things to do.
All right. Well, welcome, Georges Cordoba, to the podcast. I am so honored to have you on. I can't wait to get into everything we're going to talk about today. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be your guest. It's an honor.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what I want to get into, because what struck me about you is just you shared a little bit about your story and it's just so profound, but I would love to hear it from you and just share your journey of where you experienced some really tremendous challenges and where you are today.
Sure. Yes. Well, it all started back a few years back, and I was 42 years old. I had already been a chief technology officer for about 4 years, and my career was in computer science and software engineering. I'm actually from Caracas, Venezuela, of Greek and Spanish parents, and I came to the States to study, but with a full ride scholarship to play NCAA Division One tennis, and that's how I ended up here. But then with time, I got a job well, I've actually got married and got a job in Florida with IBM, and that started my career. But I have to share with you, Kelly, that on my Greek side of the family, many of my family members died from the very thing that plagued me. At the age of 5, I lost my grandfather, and I remember this vividly. Greeks tend to be very over emotional in these things. And then, like a couple of years later, his brother, they're all migrated to Venezuela. Some of them went to actually South Africa. But then years later, two of my grandmother's sisters passed from cancer. Then my godfather were Christian Catholics and also Greek. He was my mother's cousin, also passed from cancer. Later on, my uncle at the age of 55 passed with cancer. And then my dear mother passed with cancer.
Oh
And
my
three
gosh.
weeks
Wow.
after her passing, I was too diagnosed with the disease, but in my case was a very advanced form of cancer. And I just couldn't understand it. Although when I looked at my entire landscape of my family, I felt it was destiny. It looked that way, and I felt like I would be doomed. And lo and behold, it happened.
Mm.
And at that time, our kids, 5 kids, 4 boys and a girl, were young. The oldest was 14, and Claudia, the only girl, and the youngest was 7. And they just lost their grandmother. So they just couldn't believe it. I remember my daughter saying, "Hi, Daddy, our family is breaking with this disease. We lost grandma, and you're sick." And that added a lot. Imagine that added a lot of stress, additional stress and anxiety. But it was shocking to get that diagnosed, and you go through an emotional roller coaster. And I have to say, because uh, um, disease, I have to just share this and I'll continue. Disease starts, all disease are emotional.
Mhm.
And all disease also, I did a talk in Toronto, Ontario, and I met a holistic MD. He's an MD, and 4 years into his cancer, he realized things were not working, so he started to explore and ended up a year or so later stopping the treatments because he found a better way to do it. So anyway, I just, in my case, after going through this emotional roller coaster, denial, anger, why me, my kids, what's going to happen to them, my wife, my career. I mean, everything in a way stops. Now you have another thing to worry about, which you weren't planning.
Mhm.
And as an athlete, I was, in good shape, but I was doing too many things, with my career, trying to take the kids to coaching, then we go camping. I was trying to do it all and still playing tennis tournaments. So believe it or not, when you go that way, producing a lot of stress in your body, and this stress produces cortisol. And there's another thing that people need to know. You and your audience, I like to share this. Also, all chronic disease, including cancer, start in an inflamed body. In other words, the pH balance is very acidic. And that's because of the stress. That's because we eat too fast because we have things to do. And I'm a nutritionist, and as a nutritionist, I shifted careers, by the way. I had two leaps of faith. The first one was uh, on year 8, I I was tired. I was fed up with surgery, which, by the way, if it wasn't for the surgeries, I would not be talking to you today. But all in all, were 10 surgeries, and 4 of them were in my brain because I had eight tumors in my brain, and two of the tumors in my brain were not operable. They were in my back lobe. But on year 8, I was tired of surgery, treatment, remission, recurrence, surgery, treatment, remission. It was this loop for nearly 8 years. It was actually a little over 8 years. In the first craniotomy I had, after that they gave me this new quote unquote chemo oral. It was capsules that they claim that FDA, they tried it, FDA approved, and they say, well, this one penetrates the brain. Finally, we found a chemo that goes through the brain. Is very cautious about what it accepts in there. So the whole thing was, by the way, each of those capsules, and I'm on year 8. Yeah, financially, even though we were doing well, my wife and I, 7 years into this, 5 kids, I would say I couldn't really produce that much, so I had to do a transition to another CTO, and they kept me for 18 months as a consultant working from home. So, but these pills were supposed to be taken from Monday to Friday, take a break the weekend, and then again Monday to Friday, 3 straight weeks. On my second Monday, in other words, my sixth capsule, I really thought I was gonna get a heart attack. It just, this thing really, my heart was pumping. I had this anxiety attack. I felt like I was over the roof everywhere. It was like I took some. It was a drug,
Yeah.
and so nobody was home. My wife was working. The kids were in school. I'm a piano player, so I tried to play the piano, but I was so I couldn't. So I just lay down on the couch and breathe. I was trying to breathe it out until my wife got home. And at that point, as I was going through this, I'm a person of faith. Faith had an amazing a role in my healing, but it was a total of 10 years and 10 surgeries, 4 craniotomies, and 2 gamma knives, and endless biopsies. It was a completely new life in a way. But I was fed up. And when my wife, I started, kind of like saying, Lord, this is not working for me. So when my wife came home, she realized something was wrong because she saw me, and I said, look, this is what's happened. I'm not taking those anymore. No, no, no. Listen, please take me to church. I don't feel well to work, to drive. So she took me to church. There's a chapel. I went in. We both went in. I went to the altar, and I kneeled and cried my butt off. It was just. And then came something that to me was another key component. I surrendered. I surrendered. I just said, look, I've been trying to do things on my own, and these guys are trying, but it's not working for me. Give me the discernment to see, I'm feeling about stopping this stuff. And so I stayed there for a while. And on the way home, I told my wife, who at the time was ultrasound tech for cardiovascular and obstetrics. And and we have doctors in the family. One of them is a surgeon. And a real good friend that grew up with me playing tennis, and they're both married and doctors, and they're my daughter's godparents. But anyway, they all, when I said this, everybody was against it. You crazy, be patient. Oh yeah, be patient. I know myself. You see, intuition, Kelly, is our best coach.
Yeah.
And somehow, unfortunately, we lose that power through the years. Oh, don't listen to your teachers, listen to the pastor or your uncle, or don't listen to yourself. And unfortunately, also, when in the West, I'm also a hypnotherapist. I did a bunch of stuff to provide more value to my clients, because that's what I do today. I work with people who are dealing with cancer, especially those who are fed up, that they're saying, I'm not going anywhere. I have a poor quality of life. I need to find something else. And so that's what I do. I help them transform their health and vitality. So anyway, they were going trying to convince me, and but I said, look, I know myself. I'm gonna go taking the holistic health route to heal, and here I am, 12 and a half years free of cancer. But this experience, as you may imagine, radically changed my life. And yeah, pharmaceuticals were killing me, and so I made that decision. And then I had another leap of faith, which was, see what, basically when I went natural, it's almost like the universe, God conspired and sent me angels in the form of humans.
Mm.
And the key here is learning to receive. Many people don't want to know, they don't want anybody to know that they're going through cancer, or they just kind of go into this cocoon in a corner and play the patient role. No, that's not the way to do it. It is not. And so I made a decision when I realized that I was, doing better and better and better, and ultimately the cancer was gone. One of the things that I did when I decided to go natural is go to my oncologist, an amazing guy. Not all of them are the same. I have clients, boy, the things that I hear that they happen, it's not, but it's not the point to talk about that now. Anyway, my oncologist said, "Are you sure, Georges, that you want to stop?" And I said, "Yes, doctor, but I would appreciate if you could continue to do the follow-ups for me." And he said, "Sure. And if whatever you're gonna do," I explained a little bit, doesn't work, maybe there's something new that we can try, stuff like that. So, I don't blame these guys, but they only know one thing. They're not nutritionists, they're not psychologists, they're not, acupuncturists, massage therapies, or Reiki, or energy workers. So, but my survival experience actually was a blessing. I see it back now, because God gave me the chance to sing the song I was born to sing, which is helping people live in wellness and with purpose, which is something that many people never find it. And it's so simple in a way to do. So that's me. It got to the point that Everything was working. If I have time, I'm not sure if you have any questions for me. I don't
Oh,
know.
absolutely. I do.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much I want to unpack there. I mean, I thank you again for sharing your story
Hmm.
because it's really through those stories that helps others see maybe themselves in your path and
Hmm.
see that there is hope even if you feel like you're at that wit's end and you don't know where to turn or how this could work out, that just hearing you overcome something so tremendous that hopefully someone who maybe is going through a similar journey can really see that in themselves and start to trust themselves. And I want to go back to that when you talk about intuition and you're listening to all the other voices and then you really tune into yourself. Can you describe that experience of like, what did that feel like, that voice that was coming in from you? How did you know that was where you needed to go? What did that sense feel
Yes.
like?
Excellent, excellent question. Well, I I play tennis, like I said, and early on when I was in the national junior team, we had a coach. We have coaches, and we had one that they brought from Yugoslavia. It was still one country before the war, and he was an Olympian. But he taught us how to do mental rehearsing to have an edge against our opponents, or to come back from behind and stuff like that. That was also key. Especially, I used that mental rehearsing when I was all around. But when I made that decision, something really happened. I started to see my disease as my toughest tennis opponent. This is
Mhm,
my toughest tennis opponent, or the toughest mountain to move.
mhm,
Um, and so I also heard from someone in the past, and I think it probably was in a retreat, or one of these youth retreats, that when you have this gut feeling, this little tickle in about something, and it keeps coming, and it keeps coming and coming, and it goes over 35%. If you say, man, this is growing, act on it.
mhm,
Have the faith to act on it. This is your inner power, your subconscious mind, the infinite wisdom that we have inside. We were all born, you and I are the same, so wise. And it's trying to tell you something, act on it. But here's the deal, it's so hard to do this. And I tell you this as working with the mind, as a hypnotherapist, there's 13 rules of the mind. And one of them, it's the mind goes to what is familiar. And what is familiar in the West, Europe, and the Americas is to go to an oncologist right away. There's no other option in our mind. We just all learned that.
mhm,
Plus, we don't even think about it, but when we go in to see this person, this lady or gentleman is your employee. You are going to hire him to help you heal. But we don't think about that. We just go there and we dump all our power to this person. And what the doctor says, we do. The doctor said, and you go home and then you pay and you start playing the patient game. Oh, poor me, I'm trying, but and there's people with great attitudes trying, trying, trying. But you know what? More than 50% of these situations don't work.
mhm,
People, and then if they work, they have this word that I hate. Oh, you're in remission now.
mhm,
I hate that word because they're telling your psyche that it could come back.
mhm,
Why don't you say, don't be afraid? Of course, there's laws and, malpractice, so they have to protect themselves. It's just a fear cycle for
mhm.
everyone.
Yeah.
But the truth is that there's 12 other rules of the mind. And the mind, one of them is that the mind learns by repetition.
Mhm,
So it doesn't know about tomorrow or yesterday. It's on the present moment. So you can say, oh, I'm going to heal from my hepatitis in June. I'll be healed. No, it's today.
mhm,
I am healed. I am healed. I'm thankful because I am healed. And then, I teach this type of stuff to my clients. And there's other ones. What you say, what you think, and what you visualize the mind and the subconscious mind work together to make it happen.
Mm.
If we put these things into practice, eventually the disease goes away. But there are
Mhm.
some other tips, and then I'll let you ask me another question because this one was great.
Yeah.
I told you all disease starts as well in an inflamed body.
Mhm.
So there is the first thing I did when I just jumped the fence and went to the natural route. I went to visit an angel, my body's doubles player and former uh, cohort player here in the university where the university that we went through with scholarships. His wife was into holistic stuff. She was since she was 18, and she says, "Look, my sister went to see this naturopath in Palm Beach,
Mhm.
and she helped him rid of hepatitis." And I was open, like I said, to receive. I was, and that also was a key. I'll tell you. But I went to see him, and the first thing he said, it was, "Georges, do you know the secret of health?" And I go, "Well, well, no. I mean, I eat well. I work out. I play tournaments. I'm healthy." But he goes, "The secret of health is to have a balanced pH."
Mm.
Okay, and most people are acidic, and you, well, 8 years with chemo and radio, so he said that, and then he put me in this biofeedback scan, non-invasive, non-FDA approved. He got it from Germany, and kind of wires in my hands, in my head, in my feet, in my heart, and he turned it on, and he had this. I was sitting down, and he had this screen in front of me, and I could see Kelly from my feet to my head, like if it was the 4th of July, sparks
Mhm.
of light. He says,
Yeah.
"Georges, that's acidity
Mm.
that you have in the body." But then he says, if we're gonna balance your pH, we're gonna clear you up. We're gonna do a 21-day detox. Then we're gonna do another scan, and then we're gonna do another 20 days. And but he said, "Look, if you manage to have a balanced pH, you will not, the disease will start gradually going away because you're killing the environment where it strives to grow. And so that makes sense." And then he says, "But you also have to be careful not to be too alkaline."
Mm.
And that because then it turns green. It's like a pool. You put too much chlorine, it's very acidic. But if you don't put enough, it gets green and there's bacteria and stuff. So
Mm.
it's really about a balanced pH. I have a giveaway for your audience. I'll send you the link,
Mhm.
and it has an ebook that explains all about and the myths about the pH balance. Plus, it has a table that shows you and your audience what foods are acidic and what foods are alkaline. So you
Mhm.
can, there's also there a meditation for something else that is important, which is
Mhm.
forgiveness.
Mhm.
Forgiveness is healing. Forgiveness of stuff that happened in our early years and then through our lives that continues. It's like an automatic cortisol producer,
Mhm.
and you don't even know it. So
Mhm.
we're creating acidity from there, and also because of the way that we eat. In the
Mhm.
US, we chew only 6 times before we swallow.
Mhm.
So instead of processing the food in our mouth with the saliva enzymes, we just throw the stuff down to the stomach. It's not processed, and the stomach does not know what to do. This is a beautiful design, but not knowing what to do, it stores it into fat, and little by little it becomes acidic. So there you go. You see this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just kind of going back to what you were saying earlier is big thing that I took from you, and I see this in so many people is that it's of course it's important to have guides in the process and having people outside of you that can really help and support you. But when you relinquish your power, that's when really things start to not
Yes.
work out. That's I think a big problem in what we have going on now is that we just say you're going to fix me, and we kind of
Yes.
relinquish our own inner power to do that and our own responsibility to do that. And it's
Yeah.
about taking it back. Like we have the power, but if we are so quick to give it away, we're just leaving ourselves empty.
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
you just mentioned something, it reminded me. My friends, healing happens from the inside out. We
Mhm.
do have the power.
Yeah.
We got ourselves sick. Nobody
Mhm.
else. These diseases are not hereditary, at least cancer. 95% of cancers are not hereditary.
Mhm.
We create this cortisol and this acidity in our bodies. We're stressed out. We don't sleep well, which is
Mhm.
another thing we could talk for. The
Mhm.
cycle, the
Yeah.
human cycle. There's a part of our cycle is detox and restore, which is we do that in our sleep. But many people don't eat during the day, and then they have this huge meal half hour before they go to bed.
Mhm.
And guess what? Instead of using the energy, the subconscious mind, to detox and restore, the energy is used for digestion.
Mhm.
So you wake up in the morning, that's like sluggish and stuff. And there you go. You're creating a cycle that eventually, it gets you sick, any chronic disease. A can of soda,
Mhm.
Kelly, has about 9 to 12, depending on what brand, 9 to 12 teaspoons of refined sugar.
Mhm.
In order to alkaline a can of soda, you have to drink 32 glasses of water.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Imagine people that have two or three a day,
Yeah.
what
Wow.
they're doing to themselves.
Yeah. There's no way that you're taking in that much water to balance that out. Oh my gosh. And then we talk about the chronicity of the stress levels and the environment of, when we're in a stress response, our body's not going to direct any resources to healing. It's like if you have a bear in front of you, you're not going to say, let me just take a moment to heal. Like the bear is there and you're just going to continue to respond to that until you start to allow yourself to feel that safety within yourself.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and interesting. I use the same the same
Mhm.
analogy. Yeah,
Mhm.
what happens there, let's say you're having a great meal, healthy meal,
Mhm.
and you see this bear or a pit bull coming, drooling, and you know it's going to attack you. You have
Mhm.
two options, fight or flight.
Mhm.
And so at that moment, your digestion stops. Your meal is
Mhm.
gone. It's just all, you have to save your life. But
Mhm.
you know what's interesting? The That's the sympathetic system of our branch. You know this, and it doesn't know if it's a bear, if it's a
Mhm.
pit bull, or if you're stressed with traffic, or you had an
Mhm.
argument with your boss, or whatever. It's the same thing. It's just the vagus nerve realizes that and sends a message. Hey, Kelly's stressed out. Digestion is not gonna go well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that vagus nerve, it goes to all your organs. So then yeah,
Yes.
it's just responding to everything, and the whole system becomes that inflammatory, it
There
gives out
you
the
go.
inflammatory response at that point. Yeah,
There you
and then it's that cycle. Then, your mind gets into it, then you start catastrophizing, you ruminate about it, and then now you're just perpetuating the whole problem that's going
Absolutely.
on. Yeah. So I want to get into how do we break this cycle because I would love to hear more of like your healing journey. And so when you started to pursuing those holistic methods, can you talk about that? What did that look like? Where did you start? How did you know where to begin? And what does that look like maybe today?
Yes. Excellent question. He who seeks shall find.
Hmm.
I had no coach at that time. Melanoma was, which is what I had, malignant melanoma, was very kind of like new in the States. For
Hmm.
some reason, and it's very aggressive. So they, like anything else with medicine, they try, trial and error. Oh, let's try this. No,
Hmm.
let's try this. It worked from somebody with hepatitis. And
Hmm.
there you are, you're a guinea pig going through this. But when I made the decision, I became a student. I searched about holistic health, and another angel, a former employee of mine, gave me a book on emotional intelligence. In that book, they talked about forgiveness.
Hmm.
And so I started to look into that. And because I had surrendered and humbled myself, really, that was the reason. If not, I would not even think about this. I said, well, This makes so much sense. So I reached out to those who heard me through my life since I was,
Mm,
a youngster.
mm,
And what was amazing, Kelly, is that none of them remember hurting me.
mm,
And I carry this venom, this
mm,
poison for years, producing cortisol in my body.
mhm,
Then, but they say, well, I'm sorry, I don't remember, but I'm sorry.
mhm,
So that was a lot of clutter that I cleared. But then I went and approached those who I hurt
mhm,
as a youngster, we mean or I never was a bully, but some girls in college
mhm,
and only one remembered, which is
mhm,
again, I'm here with this guilt producing,
mhm,
uh, this poison cortisol, and but I was able to ask for forgiveness, and I was forgiven. And then the third one and the hardest one was forgiving myself. But when all those three happened, Kelly, I stopped having recurrences.
mhm,
See that the root of all disease is emotional, like I told you. Obviously, if you're top to that, you have an inflamed body. I mean, you're
mhm,
a walking bomb.
mhm,
But it felt like a grand piano was released from my shoulders, and I
mhm,
stopped having recurrences. That was the emotional part. I did a lot of visualization,
mhm,
okay, because I knew about the mind and all this stuff. I remember visualizing the Pac-Man game, these
mhm.
creatures eating all the
Yeah.
tumors in my body.
Mm. Yeah.
And then because of my faith, I remember my two favorite colors are light blue and pink, coming
Mhm,
down like divine rays coming from my head through my head all the way through my feet, melting everything that was
mhm,
not good for me. And then obviously I made sure that I had a pH balance all along. You can buy this pH strips, in any pharmacy or Walmart or whatever, and you can test it. But what I do now as a coach, and allow me to say this real quick, is I teach my clients how to order a balanced pH plate in a restaurant, how to make a balanced, cook a balanced pH plate for at home, instead of going through the extremes. I don't believe in like paleo, keto, or going vegetarian, vegan. It's the same all through the ages. Good proteins, good fats, and good carbs, and ensuring that they produce a pH balance
mhm,
in your body. Even colds. I mean, I haven't had a cold for now years.
mhm,
Even well, I did get COVID. I didn't get my vaccine, but my wife, and they got it to my wife. But we let the natural process, get rid of that, and we were in pretty good shape. So we survived it. But other than that, so here's two things that I like to share. One is that Chinese Chinese medicine. What they say something that I'm a Libra, and I
mhm,
always subconsciously trying to be in balance. But
mhm,
they say the only time that you're in balance with your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual self is when you're born. And
mhm,
then when you pass, when you're leaving the earth. And everything in the middle, Kelly, is adapting to change.
mhm,
I work holistically. I'm a holistic health coach. And what I do, I use a metaphor of the four legs of the table.
mhm,
One of them is your physical body, the other one is your emotional body, your mental body, and your spiritual body. Which, by
mhm,
the way, it's not like religion. You could be religious and spiritual, but you could be religious and non-spiritual.
mhm,
You just go through dogma and that's it. And then also that spirituality is really embracing this beautiful planet,
mhm,
embracing others. Understand that we're all connected
mhm,
spiritually, and do good, service
mhm.
others, and do some stuff that I have in my book that it became a bestseller on day one. Kelly, can you believe that?
Amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. And what a tremendous message to get out there for maybe so many people who are really feeling like they need some help
Hmm.
in that moment. Amazing. Well, one thing I do want to ask you is that transition from this is happening to me to this is happening for me. Can you talk about that? Because that is a theme that I see in so many people. Once you can make that transition and almost look at it from like that soul level of this is all a gift for me, and now you are living that, you're
Yes.
helping people through that, so you're using that gift. Can you talk about that transition and what that looks like, and how we can really get to that place in our life so we don't feel like we're a victim of our circumstances. We're really just a receiver of a tremendous gift.
Yeah. Well, it's a great question.
Mhm.
Um, it is said that this is a transformational coaching paradigm.
Mhm.
Okay, your challenges will end up being something that you'll use to help others.
Mhm.
That's for one thing. That's the four.
Mhm.
Psychologically, and also we have an ego when we are diagnosed with any of these diseases, but cancer seems to be the one that everybody sees with, uppercase letters and bold.
Mhm.
When really you have to have a scan to see these little creatures. But in my case, I first started having some survival guilt.
Mhm.
I remember starting with four other, you know, people, three ladies and a guy, and they didn't make it
Mhm.
through, even I think it was in 9 months they were gone. They have pretty much the same diagnosis. Mine started here in my scalp. If you can see
Mhm.
me closer, you see some scars and obviously the craniotomies.
Mhm.
But it is so true that it doesn't happen to us. But in the beginning, we stuck in this why me. I go to a party, everybody seems to have fun. Everybody's going to work with no problem. I have a new routine, a new daily routine. So you playing, it's almost like a psychological process that you
Mhm.
have to allow to go. Time is a healer in that sense. You have to allow this stuff to go. And then again, with your intuition, realize that we created that on us. Nobody else. It wasn't, some people say blame God. Oh, why me? Look at that. I have five killed children. I feel like Job in the Old Testament,
Mhm.
I'm such a good person. We go to missionary stuff. And me?
Mhm.
But the moment that you realize that you are at fault and you created this on you, then you start realizing as well that you can heal yourself. You can reverse this with patience, though, because it takes a long time to get cancer, but it's not going to go away just with throwing a lot of chemo stuff on you, this venom. It doesn't work. I have to say it with authority. It doesn't work. It didn't work for me, but I'm here.
Mhm.
And part of it is because I was certain of what I wanted, and I really have a conviction that there was something there that I could not see, that if I
Mhm.
took action was going to help me. Because faith without action or intention without action becomes an illusion.
Mhm.
And like the Apostle James said, do not deceive yourself. Faith without action is dead. Show me your faith with your action. That's what I did. Take
Mhm.
action. And then I started to realize that survival guilt went away. Well, I
Mhm.
remember saying to some of them, hey, look, let's take these mushrooms that they come from Japan or this and that. Oh, no, I don't believe in that stuff. I'm going to continue to do my life until, God takes me. And
Mhm.
two of them were younger than me. I was diagnosed at 42. Two of them were in the low 30s, early 30s.
Wow.
So yeah,
Mhm.
so that transition, it was like for some people it never happens,
Mhm. Yeah.
and so one of the things that see here's the answer really.
Mhm.
We live in a very, in a very, it's a noisy uh, culture, all and worldwide, and we don't give ourselves time for us, time to kind of like take a few deep breaths. Any time in the day, the best time is in the morning. As I teach my clients how to create a little shrine and do some time for you. Time is not renewable. So might as well, take some time for you first, nourish yourself first, and you can help somebody else. When you're in silence and you can visualize stuff and you can just be quiet and breathe, things come to you.
Mhm.
And that's when you realize, you start thinking, wow, wait a minute. Um, I'm not victim here. I'm just gonna keep going. But we need to really work on that familiarity that we have, that rule of the mind, and say, look, don't wait until they tell you, hey, we tried everything, go home or try something else. Oh, now after 6 years and all this money
Mhm.
and feeling, like
Yeah.
with a poor quality of life, you tell me that,
Mhm.
you know, and you have no idea how many people I have met in Conquer, cancer Conquer communities and hospitals, and more than 8 million people that went natural like me that are there walking around and coaching and helping others. Others decide, hey, that happened. I don't even gonna share that. But some of
Mhm.
us say, hey, we have to let people know that healing happens from the inside out.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a gift that you're giving the world right now by using what you've gone through to actually help people and
Mhm.
transform the message and transform the idea that cancer is inevitably a death sentence or it's just or poor quality of life for life and that it really can be something different
Yeah.
if you take
Yes.
responsibility and really know that you have the power from within you. Going off of that, I want to just ask you because when you go through something so tremendous and you're so impacted by that, how has your perspective on life shifted? So many of us just kind of take time for granted and go through the motions and what how has that shifted in you and maybe being more grateful and realizing how
Yeah.
precious it is?
Absolutely. Um, yeah, it changed it 100%. My perspective. I really appreciate everything. I could be. I love to trek. I like to be outside. I like to run, still play tennis. But if you go somewhere and you see this beautiful flower, where many people just pass by, they pass by. They don't embrace it. That a flower is a miracle too, and a beautiful tree, a full moon, or all the different stages of the moon as it becomes full, a beautiful sunset, a beautiful, the ones I love the more are the sunrise. I wrote my book in South Beach, Florida. On Saturdays and Sundays, I would get there at 5, wait for the meditate, wait for the light to come up, the sun, and start writing. And because Spanish is my first language, sometimes I will be going over there, listen to a song that would inspire me in Spanish. So I would write in Spanish, and then at other times it would be in English, so I would write in English. And so at the end of the day, I ended up with the book. I had to translate some
Yeah.
things into here, and I had
Mhm.
two books. I,
Yeah.
I launched the English one first,
Mhm.
but yeah, everything changes. I remember um, um, my daughter was in the national tap dancing team, and the nationals were in Orlando, Florida. And when they finish, we decided, we all planned, some of the families, to go to this water park and spend the day there. And so we all were floating with these things that, the round rubber things, and we were
Mhm.
just floating as a group. And it's a big pool, like a river, and then you go through like beneath a bridge,
Mhm.
not too high, the bridge. And we were going on the third loop. We see this parents with a kid coming, so we made some room for them to pass us. And as they were going under the roof, the bridge, the kid had Down syndrome, and he said, "Hey, mom and dad, look at this beautiful orchid." It was a yellow orchid right there, that you
Mhm.
could not miss, but no one said anything except that kid. And
Yeah.
I was going through
Mhm.
my cancer, but that really was a lesson for me.
Mhm.
And even with cancer, you start really, in that, through that time, you really start wondering what is really important for you. Every single surgery of the 10s, especially the ones that were going to be 10 hours and stuff, the things that I thought about was the important things: seeing my kids grow up, graduate from high school, my daughter having her first communion,
Mhm.
stuff like that,
Yeah.
and really the things that I have failed to do that I still had to do in this place,
Mhm.
which is crazy. So yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing. 'Cause that's that perspective shift. That, like, we can so get caught up in the mundane, the things that we think are important, and they're really not. So it's like when you have that gift to be able to see what truly is important, and hopefully anyone who's listening to this doesn't have to go through the same things to start to have that moment of presence in their life and slow down and start to realize what they have in front of them and not always be looking for more or something outside themselves.
yeah.
So I really appreciate you sharing that. And this has been such a transformative conversation. I know it's going to help so many people in tremendous ways. So thank you. And for anyone who wanted to connect with you and learn more about your services, where can they find you?
They can find me. They could actually go to my website. It's very easy. It's isyourhealth.com,
Mhm.
and they can connect with me over there. I'll send you some links. Well, you have them already. I wanna actually provide a gift for you and your audience. And you can find my book in Amazon. It's titled "Beating the Odds," and by Georges Cordoba. And you can get it in audio or paperback or Kindle. But obviously in my website, you can also schedule a clarity call or discovery call for questions and stuff, and see, in many cases, I help the person start with teach them in that discovery session how to create a roadmap to their health. But it is a process. People are, the mind. The good news is that, in no time, once the ego releases, once the ego says, "Oh my, come on, Kelly, you don't believe what you're saying. You're not healed." It happens after you continue to do this. Uh, Eventually, the subconscious mind, it makes it happen. When the mind tells the subconscious mind what to do through repetitions of visualization, and just being blunt, and also the visualization, all this stuff works. It takes a little time, but what is the option? The success stories that I've gone through, some people unfortunately pass. They start too late in the process. But on the other hand, I worked with a young gentleman, 38 years old, like my son, from Australia, tennis player. He was sent home with steroids and morphine. He had a very complicated form of cancer that hit his head and his spinal cord. And he's real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
His
absolutely.
sister, his sister saw me in a podcast.
Hmm.
And immediately she was in Belgium, I think. Immediately called, my client's mother. He was actually in bed, and then when they would wake him up, they put him in a wheelchair. They were just waiting for him to go. And his mother, had reached out to me. We talked. We imagine the time difference. But anyway, we talked, and I said, okay, let's do a session, a discovery session with Matt, and then we'll see. For me, it was a first one. I've been doing this
Mhm.
almost 8 years, and this
Yeah.
is 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And so he couldn't talk. He was looking at me, but he was gone with the morphine. For then it was 9 in the morning for me here, and the day before at 5.
Mhm.
But to make it short, I just said, okay, look, let's go. I was, uh, I'm a Reiki teacher
Mhm.
as well. I
Mhm.
do Reiki signs, and I also do a prayer before I do my for discernment, and to put my ego away and just be with that person. So this young man, you could tell though, because of the mother was saying, my mom too. It's just it can't happen. George is, let's see. So I decided, okay, we're going to go week to week,
Mhm.
and we're gonna just work on the mind and the emotions.
Mhm.
On week 3, they have him sleeping downstairs. They had a two. He had his house in Melbourne, but he couldn't live alone, so they
Mhm.
brought him home 2 hours away from the city.
Mhm.
And on Fridays, his doubles partner, who is a physical therapist, will go and see him. And real quick, when he was talking, his name is Eddie, talking to Sally, the mom, and he just actually, rose his voice and said, "Hey, come." He was standing from the wheelchair,
Wow.
and he said, "Mama, I want you to ask the doctor to take the morphine away from me."
Mm. Wow. Oh my
And
God,
so,
goosebumps. Wow.
yeah, and so they looked at each other, and then the doctor said, "Okay, let's do that." 2 weeks after that, no, the next Friday when Eddie came, he asked them both if they could walk him around the block. So they
Mhm.
held him, and he walked
Mhm.
around the block.
Wow.
And eventually he was walking in the house a little bit.
Mhm.
And one of these Fridays, he asked Eddie to go to the tennis courts, which were about a mile
Mhm.
from the house. And they walked over there without help. He walked over there. Then Eddie says, "Oh, let's call your mom to pick us up." He said, "No, no, let's walk back."
Mm.
In 3 months, he was having dinner.
Wow.
I mean, they had to help him. I mean,
Yeah.
he had a condition, but the mind is so
Mhm.
powerful, and
Yeah.
so he started. Oh, by the way, he was asking to be off uh, the steroids as well.
Mm.
That had
Mhm.
to take. It was slower.
Yeah.
But so no one, no one can
Mhm.
have the answer, because in terms of, don't tell me. They told me that I had a 4% chance of survival,
Mhm.
and I say, oh well, who is saying that I cannot be one of those four?
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know?
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, that's such a powerful message because so many people get those numbers and often would look at the 4% as their truth.
exactly.
And so it just questioning that and really having that faith that you can be the
Yeah.
other percentage
We,
of, I don't know if I said that right, but most people look
yes.
at the 96% and you want to look at the 4% that
E-
you do have
Exactly.
that
The
power.
full part of
Yeah.
the glass, even if it's a
Yes.
little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And I am so grateful you shared that story. Again, it's another example of someone who often, maybe that would have no chance of having any kind of quality of life, and look at the power of that.
Yeah.
So I think just hearing this, and the more stories you can hear this, and for anyone who's listening to this right now, I truly believe everything is put in your life for a reason, and this may be the nudge from the universe to pursue maybe something, an alternative method to really
Yeah.
heal yourself from the inside out. So even if it's the first step, take that first step, no matter what it is, towards really taking your power back and realizing that you
Yeah.
can heal from anything.
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful again for everything you've shared today, your story, your messages, and just your energy for being here today.
Thank you so much, Kelly, and thank you for having me. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Absolutely. And if, for anyone who's listening to this, if you know someone who could benefit from this podcast, this episode, please share it with them. Again, these messages can't be shared enough. It just takes one person listening to this that can plant the seed and then really create a whole new reality for yourself. So,
Mm.
again, thank you for everyone who tuned in today.